For this Madden Guides video breakdown, we're going to take a look at a blitz technique that I've been using recently that allows me to get some pressure on the quarterback, and it's something I have not yet shown here on the Madden Guides YouTube channel. For this video breakdown, the name of the defense that we're going to use for the blitz setup is called 𝗦𝘂𝗯𝘀𝗯𝗲𝗏, and this defense features 6 pass rushers. It has 5 defenders in man coverage, and it is a cover 0 defense. As far as the playbooks are concerned, you'll find it out of all these playbooks, and for the purpose of the video breakdown, we're going to go ahead and use the Saints defensive playbook. The X factor that we use for this video breakdown is New Orleans Saints middle linebacker Demario Davis. The only substitution that we're going to make is actually a package adjustment, and that's going to be to use the LB swap, and that's going to put Davis lined up right here at the linebacker position, basically at the right inside linebacker position as you look at your screen there. And later on the video breakdown, I am going to make another adjustment where I bring a safety in. I want to show something later that may improve the blitz as well. But for now, we're just going to go ahead and use the LB swap. We're going to go ahead and make 2 coach adjustments as far as for this setup. And the first one is to go ahead and have auto flip defensive play call turned off. And then we're going to do auto alignment base. That's kind of optional, but for now, for the video breakdown, if you're following along, I would set it to base. All right, before we actually get to the blitz setup, I just want to show you something as far as this particular defense, as far as getting the pressure on the quarterback without making any pre-snap adjustments. And without doing anything at all, this linebacker lined up right here, he's going to end up shooting through this A gap between the center and the right guard and apply pressure on the quarterback. So let's go ahead and run the play, not make any pre-snap adjustments, and you can see clearly he gets in. Now, the problem with that is he doesn't get in real fast. It's almost 3 seconds, right? So that's probably something you don't want to do. When you guys are just looking to get some pressure, maybe that's something you might do, but for the most part, you're looking to get pressure as fast as you can on the quarterback. Now, as I've already pointed out, Davis being the X factor here, I want to kind of feature him, but that doesn't mean that you can't have somebody else lined up at this position where I have him lined up there. Now, matter of fact, later in the video breakdown, we'll put a safety there, and I just want to show you that's something else you guys could do as far as getting pressure on the quarterback. For now, though, we're going to have Davis lined up at that position. And next thing I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and do something really cool about the nickel wide formation here is if you go ahead and shift the defense and pinch down, then you can see clearly that they come up into the A gaps. The other nice thing about this, on the outside, you're going to end up having these guys now in press coverage, which is really nice as well. So that's kind of cool with that one little adjustment. Not only do you get these 2 linebackers coming up into the A gaps, but you also get those defenders on the outside, those defensive backs in press coverage, which is nice. Now, again, I'm going to go ahead and run this play without making any other more pre-snap adjustments. I just want to show you something else. Generally, if you were to go with this setup, then a lot of times you're probably going to get pressure off the edge coming from this defensive end right there. Let's go ahead and run this and see what happens there. And you can see he gets the pressure on the quarterback. Again, it's not that fast, but you can get in. So right now, we basically either have gotten pressure from this linebacker here or this guy here, depending on what we do before the snap. Now, the next thing you can do here is if you really want to bring some heat and you want to get it under 2 seconds, this is the really nice thing about this. And I have not shown this yet. I have not seen anybody else show it. And I think it's really, really nice. As a matter of fact, there's going to be some other defensive blitz setups that I'm going to show over the next couple weeks where what I'm about to show, this technique, really does work, and it does definitely bring some pressure on the quarterback. So again, let's go ahead and do this. Let's go ahead and press the defense down or shift the defense down. And again, we got those linebackers down in the A gap. Now, the key to this is you have to take control of a defensive lineman. Now, again, I know some of you guys may not want to do that, and that's fine. But when I show you this, it might be something you might reconsider, especially how fast the pressure comes in. And the other nice thing about this is that you don't always have to run it like this. You can do some other things if you want to control safety, that's fine, or whatever else you want to do, or mix and match with some of the other defenses in the game. But at this point, you're going to notice that I'm in control of this guy right here, which is going to be the weak side defensive tackle. Now, the key to this, to make this work, is normally I would tell you to hold down the right trigger. I'm not going to tell you to do that this time. What I want to tell you to do is when that ball is snapped, and you're going to see me do it, I want you guys to flick this right here. Let me kind of show this to you as I go through here. I'm going to put this back up so you guys can see this bigger controller here. And let me clear that off there. What you're going to need to do here is you're going to flick as you look at it. Look at the controller right there. As you look at it, you're going to want to flick up like that. You can see that left stick going up as I'm doing it. You're going to want to flick it, and what's going to happen is it's going to stutter that weak side defensive tackle as far as coming after the quarterback. But when you do that, it's going to allow this linebacker right here, which is Davis, he's going to shoot right through this A gap real quick and apply the pressure on the quarterback, which is really nice. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. And then I want to talk about some other things you can do as far as who else you can control to make the same thing work, depending on what you want to do on the defensive side of things. So let's go ahead and run this play, and then you'll see what I mean as far as getting the pressure on the quarterback. So I'm going to go ahead and snap it here. See how I just flicked it? Right there, you're getting that pressure on the quarterback pretty darn quick coming up through that A gap. So that's the really cool thing about this particular defense as you look at it, is that you don't have to do a whole lot with it and you get that pressure on the quarterback. Let's go into the X and O's of the play, and then we'll look at it, and then we'll go through some more stuff that you can do with this particular defense. From the top down view here in instant replay, we can really look at the X and O's of the play, and I can kind of really break it down as far as the way this works. So as far as the offensive line blocking schemes work, this guy right here is going to look to block this defensive end right here. So that's the left tackle looking to block the right end. And then as we work our way across, this guy, which is the left guard, now he's going to look to block the guy right across from, happens to be that weak side defensive tackle. That's the one that I'm in control of, at least initially. And that's kind of a key right there. And you'll see here as we go through this, as I run you through the instant replay, what'll happen. And then the center, now most of the time, he's going to look to block over towards this guy right here. He's going to look to block that linebacker right there. And then the next two guys right here, which is going to be this right guard, he'll look to block towards the right. As you look at it here, let's go and do this again. He'll look to block towards the right, which is going to be this strong side defensive tackle. And then finally, we're going to get this guy right here, which is the right tackle. He's going to look to block over here, block this left end. Now, as I pointed out earlier, I'm in control of this guy right here. As you look at your screen, I'm in control of him. And what I want to do here is I want to go ahead and flick this controller as you look at it. So we're going to put this controller back up. We're going to go ahead and flip this. We're going to press up on this left stick. And what you're going to see as I do this, watch what happens here. See how I'm flicking it right there? I just flicked it, just stuttered him from just a brief second. I know it doesn't look like I do anything, but right there, there it is. It's flicked right there. And then what happens is this lineman, this left guard still looks to block me, and it's going to open up this gap right here where I can get the pressure on the quarterback. So that's what happens with this. Now I'm going to show you something else you guys can do that if you guys want to do this setup as we go back into it. And I'll show you some more you can do with this particular defense. So what you're going to do next here is you look at this, you can go ahead and do the same setup that I showed earlier. And then if you want to, you can slant the defensive line outside. And the reason that you're going to slant the defensive line outside is going to create a bigger gap. So this linebacker right here can blitz right through the A gap and apply pressure on the quarterback. Also, you can do QB contain to prevent your opponent from trying to roll the quarterback out. So you don't want the quarterback to be rolling out of here. You want him trying to stay in the pocket. If he decides to roll out, then if they're in QB contain, then there's a good chance he's going to get sacked by one of those defensive ends if he tries to roll out. So again, it's the same setup, the same idea. We're just adding a couple more steps to it. So let's go ahead and run it again. And I want you guys to watch what happens. Right there, we get that same pressure on the quarterback. And there, I know you guys could clearly see that time when I did that setup, what happened with that as you look at it. Let's go back into instant replay and again, look at it in the X and O's and look at the play here. So as we go back in here, you can see there, see how I just flicked it? I just flicked it right there. See how that pause? Look at that. Look at the pause. As you look at this, I'm going to zoom in here. So I really want you guys to see this. See how when I flick this, see, flicked right there. He pauses for a second, stutters, and then he goes after the quarterback. And as you look at it, this guy right here, this left guard, still looking to block me, which is nice. And then I get that pressure instantly on the quarterback. Now what I want to do is let's go into the ticker here. Let's see how fast I really got to the quarterback here when we look at this. So let's go back into instant replay again here and take a look at this. So I'm going to go ahead and start this, and we'll see how fast I get to the quarterback as you look at it right there. So just over 2 seconds that time with him. And again, if you have a faster safety, let's clear this one more time and do it one more time and see how fast I can really get in there. And then see right there. So it's about 1.7. So it's basically the same thing. Maybe when I did the thing, it wasn't quite as far as with the ticker. But anyway, you can see it's right around 1.7, between 1.7 and basically 2 seconds. You should be able to get to the quarterback pretty consistently with this blitz. So let's go and do it one more time here. As far as that, now it's 1.8. So somewhere in that area, 1.7, between 1.7 and 2 seconds, which is pretty nice as far as bringing pressure on the quarterback. So hopefully this will give you an idea how to bring that pressure. Now what I want to do is I'm going to show you some other things you can do with this particular defense that you can switch things off and make it a little bit different as far as to your opponent. So that way your opponent doesn't know if it's coming or not. So for the most part, what I've been doing here as you look at this is I've been in control of the weak side defensive tackle to get this to work. That doesn't mean you have to do that. Something else you can do here, let's go ahead and go through the same setup here. You can switch off to another lineman. In this case here, I'm over on the strong side defensive tackle. Watch what happens when I do it. Same concept, nothing changes. I'm still gonna flick it and pause him or stutter him for a second, but we're still gonna get the exact same pressure here from this linebacker who's gonna shoot through that A gap. So let's go ahead and do it again, same thing. Right there, we get that same pressure, even though I switched off. That's the nice thing about that. Remember, I flicked it. Now remember, watch what happens when I don't flick it. I'm not gonna flick it this time. And I guarantee it, I will not get that same pressure. We're gonna go ahead and get that same pressure from the outside in right there. That's because I didn't flick it. But if I flick it, then I get that pressure coming from that linebacker right there, as you just saw. The same thing can be said with this guy right here. This time I'm gonna go ahead and control this guy right here as you look at it. This is gonna be the left end, and I'm gonna go ahead and control him as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and control him, and I guarantee it, I'm still gonna get that same type of pressure on the quarterback here. I'm just gonna flick it again. Now watch what happens when I flick it. Same thing, I flicked it, got the pressure. So you can literally control any one of those three defensive linemen and get that pressure on the quarterback as far as for the A gap with that linebacker. Here, I'll switch over to this guy. Now this time, probably are not gonna get that pressure with this guy. See right there? The cool thing about this is he might still get in, but there's something else that you might have just saw, depending on if you put a faster defensive tackle right here and you switch off to this guy and do the same thing with the flick with this right end. So I'm going to flick it again. You may get him in on occasion. If not, that guy will still come in pretty clean. So that's some of the things I wanted to point out. So just keep that in mind. If you're looking to get pressure from the linebacker, then you really want to be in control of one of these three guys and do the flick that I've been showing throughout this video breakdown. Finally, the last thing I'm going to show here as we go through this, I'm going to show you if you put a safety at that spot. And then I got one other thing I want to show later there at the very end of the video breakdown. So let's go and make a substitution here and we'll see what happens with that. All right, now we're back into the sub menu here, and you'll notice as you look at it, I went ahead and just put the packages back to default there as you look at it, as far as that setting is concerned. But what I need to do here is I'm going to go ahead and actually I'm going to run this blitz as is without making that substitution with the safety. So I want to show you guys one other thing real quick before we get too much farther in the video breakdown. Matter of fact, I was going to do this at the end of the video breakdown, but I'm going to go ahead and show you now. That way you can see what happens. So we're going to do the same setup. Now keep in mind that as you look at it, Davis is now lined up right here as you look at your screen here. So he's going to be lined up. Let's just go ahead and show it to you guys so you can see it. Davis is going to be lined up here by his default position. Now, for some reason, I don't know if it's because he's an X factor or whatever reason, he's actually going to apply the pressure. Remember, I went ahead and flipped him to the other side. Well, I'm going to switch over to this guy again, this defensive tackle, this weak side defensive tackle, and I'm going to go ahead and flick it. And a lot of times he still comes in. So you don't always necessarily have to have him lined up at the other position as far as the linebacker, as far as a swap, and still get this to work. You can go ahead and try some of these other guys. Let's try this again with this guy here. This time he gets blocked. So you notice the defensive end comes in. The one thing I've found by flipping him or swapping him out and putting him in this position over here, as I show this to you guys on your screen here, I found it's more consistent to have him lined up here versus over here. So I did want to point that out. So we're going to make one more substitution, and I'm going to show that here in just a second. All right, I'm going to make one more substitution, and that's to bring in Johnson. As you look at, I've already done that. He's lined up here at this linebacker position. He's a free safety with a 90-91 speed. And then there's Davis. He's lined up over there. And let's see what happens now with this. Now, I can tell you this, we may not always get the same pressure that I've been showing earlier. That's why I featured Davis here as the X factor as far as bringing the pressure on the quarterback. But that doesn't mean you can't get it with somebody else. And with that said, there he is. There's Johnson. So let's go ahead and run the defense here. And this time we're going to get it from the weak side defense tackle. One thing I will point out there, because of this does happen on occasion where the weak side defense tackle gets pressure on a quarterback, you may want to put a faster guy in there. Let's do the same setup again. And then right there, it comes Johnson. Now, the thing about this is, if you're fiddling around with this, you got to be really, really quick and switch off as fast as you can. You just hit that, you flick that switch or flick that, flick the left stick where that pauses that guy and hurry up and switch. And then you may end up getting that same pressure that I'm showing right there from Johnson. As you go in here and look at this, I do want to point this out there since I already got the pressure on the quarterback. I want to show you how fast it really gets in there, and that's kind of what I want to go with here. So right there, I kind of did this earlier and I was kind of messing around with this. You can see right there, it shows at 1.48. Let's see if that's really consistent with what I've shown earlier. So let's go ahead and run this and see what he does right there. So right there, 1.59. So that's pretty quick blitz as far as bringing pressure on the quarterback, and see what happens right there. So, it's pretty quick. 1.84, maybe a little bit slow as far as hitting the button there. So right there, it's right in that area, somewhere in that pretty quick blitz, put it that way. You guys can see clearly that we're getting in there pretty quick. So I just want to point that out to you. All right, what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and clear that out of there and get this out of the screen there. The other thing I want to point out with this, you've seen me now get pressure from Johnson, but you may also end up getting it from Davis as well, who's lined up. Remember, we moved him back over. You may end up getting pressure from him. So somebody's going to come in pretty consistent with this. Right there comes Davis shooting through. That's what I wanted to point out right there. So you're going to get a lot of pressure. It's just depending on how you do it. And the more you mess around with this defense, the more consistent you might be able to get with it. Here, I'm going to switch over to this guy right here. This is the strong side defensive tackle, doing the same thing I've been showing. There comes Johnson. Basically, I just stuttered, flipped off, switched over, and got that pressure there from Johnson. So it was pretty quick. One more time, same thing here. Again, Johnson shoots right through. So you're going to have to play around with this, guys, and see what kind of pressure you guys can get on the quarterback here. I'll switch out to the outside end there. And this time it comes from Davis. So you guys play around with this defense. You can definitely see it's definitely a defense you can bring pressure on the quarterback. The only other thing I want to point out, I'm going to go ahead and leave the running back stay in the pass block. And with that said, you're not going to get the same type of pressure that you've been getting with the running back staying in the pass block. Matter of fact, you can see he gets blocked, or at least initially. And that's one of the things I wanted to point out with Davis. That's why I put him in here initially, to get the pressure on the quarterback, because I knew that I believe he has like a halfback tight end type block shed where he can get through a lot quicker than what a lot of the linebackers in the game can. And I realized not everybody has that ability, but that's why I had him specifically set up where I did, because I knew that he may bring the pressure on the quarterback more consistent than some of the other guys. Here, I'm going to switch over to Jordan again, same thing. And then this time we end up getting pressure coming from that weak side defensive tackle. So the nice thing about this is you're going to get pressure on the quarterback. This time I've got the running back staying in the pass block. I'll switch over to the strong side defensive tackle there. And right there, this time he doesn't get through and he gets blocked, but we eventually get pressure on the quarterback. At any rate, guys, I just want to point this out to you. This is a defense that you're going to want to check out and kind of mess around with. I've been messing around with some of this basically a stutter that I've been doing by flicking up the left stick and then allowing other defenders to get in. You're going to find there are other defenses in the game that you can do this with, that you can get pressure on the quarterback the same way what I've been showing here with the nickel wide over 𝗠𝗱𝗃𝗯𝗲. Matter of fact, as I continue through this over the next couple weeks and tweaking this, I'm going to show some more blitzes with this same technique. So again, the name of the defense here is called nickel wide 𝗬𝗓𝗋𝗄. Just showing you guys a new technique that I found that I think works pretty well, that I haven't seen anybody else show here on YouTube or, you know, anywhere else. And hopefully this might be something you guys can use to in your tools on the defensive side of things to get pressure on the quarterback.